Why some Republicans are abandoning Trump now that the impeachments. Why some Republicans are abandoning Trump while the impeachment hearings put blood in the waters. Coming up next on Deceptions of the Ages News. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Deceptions of the Ages News. I'm your host, author Matthew Hines. One of my books is Deceptions of the Ages, Mormons, Freemasons, and Extraterrestrials. And that book is about what we're looking at this very day. Why is that? Because the American people elected somebody that they didn't want us to have for a president. And now hell has come to breakfast, my friends. But let's move on. First of all, would you guys just consider a subscription to Deceptions of the Ages News? Just hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you're notified when a new video comes out every week. All right, now, the first thing that we need to look at right now is, of course, what is happening in Washington, D.C.? Well, of course, the impeachment situation is going on. And if this couldn't get any more hilarious, what is this impeachment about? Well, nobody really knows. But once again, they're going to just investigate somebody until they find a crime. And this is against all rhyme, reason, or sense of decency for anybody in the civilized world. And unfortunately, we have people in Congress, at least temporarily, that can insist on creating this spectacle in lieu of doing their actual jobs, in light of the fact that we are almost at war with Iran. We're in a trade war with China. We have something going on down in Venezuela, not sure what. And the list goes on, yet all we have is a group of completely insane people that will never stand election in their next election, will never return to Washington, D.C., but yet they're causing all of this ruckus in just to pretty much put the last nails in their own coffin. So the question is, why would they destroy like Pelosi and Mad Maxine Waters and Pencil Neck Schiff? Why are they destroying their political careers? Barring the fact that, like in Washington State, the elections are rigged and the machines are rigged, which we're going to fix soon enough. But in a real election, these people obviously will not be returning to Washington, D.C. So why would they be committing this kind of political suicide? Well, there's two reasons for that. First of all, within the next week, the IG report is going to come out, and it is going to name individuals for collusion and an attempt to use a foreign government to overthrow the Donald Trump political campaign and presidency. So that is going to come out next week. And also, don't forget, even though Mr. Epstein has mysteriously died, he is, or his ghost rather, has left records of people that are still going to be charged and are still going to end up, if not going to jail, then brought into the public spotlight. So don't forget, those two things are still hanging in the works, and they're coming out very soon. So what you have now is the Damien, remember Damien in The Omen, and when he took him to the church, well, that's what you have now with these crazy Democrats, because they are trying to protect somebody or something. And now I don't know specifics, whatever, but well, and we'll talk about a little bit about what Donald Trump knows in a little bit. But what we can all figure out, just common sense says, is that as these indictments for these child molesters and pedophiles start to come down, then a lot of the Democrat money is going to start to dry up. And in fact, it has already. And there was a story a couple days ago about how the Democrats are worried their funds are drying up. And now, oh, they're going to impeach Donald Trump. All right, so the next thing that we need to look at when we're looking at this issue and the issue that we're looking at is we're looking at why would the Republicans, I mean, we see that the Democrats are committing political suicide, but why are the Republicans, some of them doing the same thing as well? And remember, I said some. I know there's a lot of good Republicans that support the president, support the Constitution, and support the rule of law, but there are others that have different reasons. Some are good, some not so good, that choose not to support Trump, and almost admittedly to their own detriment, at least politically. But why would they be doing that? Well, to explain it a little bit better, I've come up with 10 reasons why people either hate or love President Trump. So let's look at 10 reasons why people hate or love President Trump. All right, so the first reason that the Republicans, or the rhinos as they call them, don't like President Trump is because the media doesn't like President Trump. Now, President Trump is able to raise a lot of money, so he doesn't really need the media's affection. But these other people definitely do. And they also know that anything to go against the person they hate, is going to be to their benefit when it comes to getting that free or favorable publicity for a future campaign. So that's the first reason that Republicans hate Trump. The second reason Republicans hate Trump is that Trump is an outsider, right? I mean, he's not really an outsider as in outside of the world. I mean, he is an insider as far as the super rich go, but he is an outsider as far as politics. And what that means is if you can imagine a bunch of dominoes together, and then here comes old Donald Trump, and you plop him down right at the head of the domino stack, well, that's going to push all the dominoes that were waiting to get into the presidency and get into these other offices all the way back. And that cannot have made him a very popular person. Now, also, another thing that people or Republicans hate him for, and we're going to find out more about this later, is that Donald Trump, being a super rich insider, knows who is going to go down when the Epstein charges and Epstein names and Epstein allegations start to come out. So those are a couple of reasons that some Republicans would choose to hate Donald Trump. Now, another reason that Republicans hate Donald Trump is because he says what he thinks. He says what's on his mind. And he says basically, although it may be right or not, he says what every American says around the dinner table at night when they're complaining about the country and how the government is ripping us off. That is one of the reason Republicans can't stand him, because he's the guy that they're the guys that he is talking about, and we are talking about when we're talking about the corruption and the things that need to be changed in Washington. The fourth reason that people hate Donald Trump is that he is actually not as smart as he thinks he is, but he is a lot smarter than the people around him. And everybody knows that. He is able to manipulate, he's able to control situations, and the only reason he's able to do that is because he is smarter than the people he's dealing with. And it's not that he has more knowledge, but when it comes to working with people, reading people, he definitely has the upper hand in that. And everybody knows that. So that's the fourth reason that Republicans don't like Donald Trump. Now, the next reason that Republicans don't like Donald Trump is because of his stand on immigration. Now, he was elected for immigration, and think of this: if there was no problem with immigration, there would be no Donald Trump. Duh. But there is a problem with immigration, and Donald Trump at least pretends, at least appears to be acting on the 20 million illegal aliens that are in this country. Now, why would that be a problem for some of these rhinos? Because these rhinos need every vote they can get. Republican, Democrat, legal, illegal, they need all they can get. Because until Donald Trump came along, the Republicans were on their way out in just about every area of the United States. Only Donald Trump saved them. And for some reason, they want to, whatever. But we're moving on. So we'll go to the next thing, and hopefully we'll make some sense of this. Now, the sixth reason that Republicans don't like Donald Trump is because he's not a politician, but he has a huge base because of his celebrity status. They've been working so hard in political campaigns and doing civic this and civic that, and he comes along, and because of his TV shows and his appearances and his money and his hotels, he's an instant celebrity and an instant hit. So a lot of Republicans hate that, and we might just attribute that just to good old-fashioned jealousy. Now, as a result of Donald Trump's massive fan base and massive support, the Republicans have more money than they ever have. And again, that can lead to problems because that money has to be apportioned out. And if you're a Mitt Romney that wants to have a campaign and you want money from the Republicans after you trashed the leader of the party for so many years, I wonder how much of that money would actually end up in Mitt Romney's campaign or these other people that seem to have trashed Trump whenever they had the opportunity to get on the television. Now, another reason that these Republicans hate Trump is because government has historically been done, government business, has been done in a certain way, and that is number one, to keep as many lawyers as busy as possible, and number two, to spend as much money as possible so that you can get more money next year. And these are the things and the ways that government has worked. That is called the victor goes the spoils. It has been a traditional system of the government. And Donald Trump knows that because as a businessman in New York, he has to deal with a very corrupt New York administration. So he knows what government is, and he knows it's not going to make a profit anytime soon. But he does want to strip it down and make it more effective. And every taxpayer should not have a problem with that, although they do. But that is another reason that Republicans hate Trump, because he takes away that potential pork barrel money that can go out to donors and contributors in the usual graft, tit for tat kind of sense. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about as to why Republicans and politicians in general hate Trump is because he is the first president, at least in my lifetime, that was elected and did exactly what he said he was going to do. Reagan kind of did, but not so much. But Trump did exactly what he said he was going to do. And now Reagan, I remember Reagan got no opposition, not the way that Trump has basically been almost threatened on a daily basis since he took office, even before he took office. Threatened, his life, his family have been treated so horribly. And this is just never, just a horrible precedent to be set in the history of the nation. And the only reason is for all the reasons I've said, plus others, but the fact that he's come in and he's done what he said he was going to do. Now, what's going to happen with the next guy? You know, they'll do one or two things and people will say the guy's a bum. Look how much stuff Trump got done. So they set a bad precedent for Republicans or Democrats alike. Now, the last thing that I want to say then in my list of reasons why people don't like Trump, and this is number 10, is that Donald Trump, believe it or not, he makes mistakes, and he's a human being, and he says things that he shouldn't say, and he makes mistakes when he says them, but nobody is willing to forgive him for, the American people, of course, say, yeah, of course, no problem. We understand what you're saying. But the people that, make a living, hurting other people, well, they can eat, they can feed off that. So, you've heard of a vulture and a hyena. Well, they feed off carcasses, and it's the same thing that these people are doing whenever they see a mistake or something wrong or somebody's making up a lie or whatever. They can feed off of that, and then they can eat that night, just like the vultures and the buzzards. So it's pretty sad commentary in life, but it's the way it is. So these are the 10 reasons that people, especially Republicans, don't like Donald Trump. What we need to talk about next, though, is not why these people hate Donald Trump, but why they are doing what they're doing. Because as far as I see it, from what I see from the Republicans, they are using Donald Trump for nothing more than to raise money. And I know there are people that support him. There are good people in the Congress, like the Freedom Caucus. They seem to be good guys. But there are people only there for the reason of waiting until Donald Trump is out of the picture, and then they, like the shark or the buzzard or the vulture, they're going to circle around until that happens, and then they're going to move in for the kill, and then they're going to take his place. So you have a Mitt Romney, you have a Jeff Flake, and now there's a number of people that are running for the presidency in the place of, or running against Donald Trump as Republicans. And one of them is Joe Walsh, not the singer, but he's taken his Rocky Mountain way against Trump. There's a guy named Weld. He was a governor, and he's also going against Trump, but I don't think he's going to make it. I don't think Weld will make it on Tuesday. And there's one more, and I don't quite get I don't remember his name right now, but he's also running against Trump. And the reason that he's running against Trump is one of these guys had a nice little quote, and it was, because anything can happen between now and then. So really what they're saying is that, oh, we're just waiting for the Democrats to do something, and who knows what the Democrats have in store. They will obviously circumvent the law to get rid of this president. So how much farther will they go? Remember what happened to John Kennedy? Well, I'm sure that Trump is well aware of it, and is well aware of what the deep state is capable of. So now I just want to make one or two final points about these Republicans going against Trump. Every day, ever since the border crisis, the Pelosi, Waters attacking Trump. Trump is always in trouble, right? Every day he's in trouble. There's trouble at the border. There's trouble with the police. There's trouble in California. They're attacking Trump here. They said something about Ivanka. And what does it all translate to? The Republicans need money from me. And somehow that contribution is going to fix Trump's problem. And even in this article, I'll cite it, or I'll put it in the video comments. But even in this article, it says that the campaign for 2020 is a Trump victory, right? So whenever you donate to Trump, that money is not going to Trump. It's going to all of these political races, right? Of people that are going to turn on Trump most likely in a heartbeat as soon as it is to their advantage. So I hope this video is not too confusing. It's very important to understand why people hate and love Trump, and not because of the hearsay, but because of the reality of who he is and what he's done. So that is the most important thing that you have to understand right now, besides why these Democrats are going to any length, inside or outside the law, to try to get rid of him, because the law is coming for them. And it's going to be very important to see what happens in the future, because if Democrats can get Trump out of office one way or another, remember the Kennedy thing, they will say, oh, that the election was a fraud, and they will have some kind of a coup to install a Democrat into the White House. Now, is that going to happen? Well, I hope not. But you have to call your representative. I don't care, Democrat or Republican. Find their number. It's on the internet. Call them and tell them to lay off of Trump and govern the nation that need to be fixed. And before I go, I'm going to give you a little food for thought. Doesn't matter, Republican or Democrat, who always makes out like gangbusters under any administration. There's only one group of people, and that's the banks. So who do you think really controls this country? And do you think all of this stuff even matters? The only thing that matters, my friends, is the banks and the money that they can make. So this is Deceptions of the Ages News. I hope you'll check out Deceptions of the Ages, Mormons, Freemasons, and Extraterrestrials. And we'll see you next time.